David was on our show January 31st of last year. Microsoft was his first top pick. You're sticking with this one, up 13%.
Yeah, look, there is a secular theme, which is software as a service. And there's a second secular theme, in cloud. And Microsoft is right in the middle of all of that. When you take a company that used to sell products once every 2 or 3 years and turn it into a subscription product, it should trade at a much higher multiple. And they really are sort of the absolute leader in their space. So this is a company I think you can continue to hold. Now, stock pulled back a little bit off the highs, held in much better than the market. And if you think about it, the weakest assets sell off first in a downturn, and then it can, over time, gets things over time further and further away from the problem, and at the end they're selling stuff that has nothing to do with the problem. The very last 4 or 5 stocks to break down in the sell-off were Microsoft and Google and Amazon. And in the end, that's a panic out the door. So I think that this is a company you can buy here, and you probably have a very good 2 to 3 years in front of you.
Charles Schwab, now you say you got out of this one after it started breaking down, I suppose, at $51. It has lost a bit of altitude. I think people thought they would thrive as interest rates increased.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately they will. But, even when you look at a turn in rates, any secular theme has interruptions. An interruption is a short, sharp punch in the face, 2 to 3 to 4 months in length. And that's very typical. And that's what happened in the fall. You had a tick down in long rates, so financials sold off.
Right.
And I think that we see that turn favorably through the course of this year. So I would be a buyer of Schwab here. I'd be a buyer of the IAI, which is the ETF that owns capital markets and asset managers.
Sure.
I think that that's a great entry point. And in fact, against all of the rest of the group in financials outside of insurance brokers, that group of securities has had better relative performance than, say, the banks or the regional banks. So I think that makes some sense because you're looking to buy strength through against peers.
So would that be your preference, IAI, the ETF, over Schwab stock individually?
No, I think you could buy Schwab stock individually, but I think you could also buy the basket of capital markets and asset managers using IAI as an alternative without going rifle shot to Schwab.
United Rentals, this one down. Is that, I'm guessing it would be seen by some anyway as a proxy for the broad U.S. economy.
Yeah, it's a proxy for the broad U.S. economy and also for the cycle itself.
Okay.
Right? It's a more cyclical stock, and certainly with concerns in the fall around economic slowdown, that's now been built in. We'll have to see whether the numbers reaccelerate, but what's interesting is in the last while, the economic surprise data out of the U.S. has now started to come in ahead of expectation. So I think that we've built a lot of negative stuff in over the course of the past year, and I think that likely it's not going to be as bad as people think.
Cameron Hurst was telling us yesterday, I don't think he's keen on the timing right now, but he says they've been a leader in putting GPS equipment on the gear that they rent out. And they can even tell customers, hey, you're wasting that bit of equipment. You're not using it efficiently.
That's exactly right. In the end of the day, if you're a contractor or somebody who's using equipment on a rental basis, you make money by using it all the time.
Yeah.
And the more data you can have around the usage, the better off you are.
We're going to be back with David Burrows, President and Chief Investment Strategist at Barometer Capital Management. He's answered your questions on North American large caps. Give him a call, 1-855-326-6266.